Man, I've literally not been recording videos for like, what, a year now? I'm pretty sure it's been a year. Oh, look, it's 420. So it's been about a year since the original trailer came out for Starfield back in 2022, and a lot of people were not too impressed with the way things looked, played, and the news we heard about procedurally generated like worlds and shit. However, we've just gotten a few days ago the updated direct from Microsoft and Bethesda showing a massive difference compared to how it looked before, man. It is so much better. Now, of course, majority of the internet is applauding Bethesda for actually listening to the community and changing things that people wanted them to change ever since Fallout 4 released, because there were so many problems with that game too. They actually took in the criticism from what we can tell, and things look like they're going to be better. Because to be fair, Fallout 76 did improve over time. Even though I never came back to it, I still didn't care. They already lost me on the first impression, but it did get better. So they do listen to their community to an extent, and ever since they gotten the budget from Microsoft after being purchased to develop this game, you can really tell a difference between their old games and the new ones. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's like mind-blowing. It still does look like a Bethesda game in a lot of areas, but it is massively improved compared to how it was, man. I don't know if any of you guys played like Morrowind or Fallout 3 or anything from that era, but dude, the graphics weren't there, mechanics felt bad, but still classic games nonetheless. They're still great. Anyway, we are going to be coming back to a very familiar face here. The guy that got me about 5,000 views, some fucking how, not gotten out any of my videos ever. So thank you for being a jackass, and thank you for being a troll. I don't know which one he is. It might be both. I'm pretty sure he's a troll though, because he does seem to know what he's doing, but I don't really care. He still has wrong opinions, and it's still funny to talk about. Let's make fun of this guy. Today, he has a video called Starfield More Like Starfailed. Todd Howard of Bethesda has a Microsoft reputation, whatever that means. I don't know. I guess we'll find out, won't we?
I'm not gonna bother watching the Starfield trailer. I don't care. I've seen enough.
Yeah, I'm not too shocked you don't care. You've never cared about getting information from something to make a video on it. It's really fucking old, man. Do you like the new setup and microphone, though? Sounds a lot better. Congratulations for figuring that one out.
You know, I've seen the pattern. I know how this goes every single time. Oh, is Starfield gonna be Game of the Year? Is this gonna be Bethesda's next Skyrim? Is this Fallout in space? Is this what No Man's Sky was going to be? Like, I called it from the trailer, right? Like, when they first showed off the gameplay trailer, like, I called this shit, like, immediately.
Okay, listen, I understand, right? The first trailer did look underwhelming. Things didn't look all that impressive. The art style was kind of bland. People were a little worried, but that's why it got delayed. And then after the delay, we got a much better trailer, and people are now excited because they actually took the time to listen to what people wanted.
You know, I've heard a lot of, like, things about it that are already, like, raising red flags. Like, the term procedurally generated. You know, after No Man's Sky, that should be, like, a major red flag. Like, why isn't everything handcrafted? Why are we going to different planets and having them procedurally generated? Right? Where are the unique life forms? Where's the creativity? Where's the alien civilization?
I understand concern with procedurally generated things, maybe 5-6 years ago, but AI has come to a point where it can understand the situation to create areas that look more real. And on top of this, Bethesda does have locations in majority of these places that are already handcrafted with things around them to make it feel alive. You are going to find planets that have shit on it and feel livable. You're going to have planets that have nothing. It's space. You also need those planets for resource management. Go destroy the motherfucker and you don't hurt anybody because no one's gonna fucking find it anyway. There's like 999 more, man.
The way it's looking now, it has the same kind of, like, hype cycle, right? It has the same kind of publicity. Is that, like, oh man, it's gonna be so cool, like, being in your spaceship and flying around this big universe with, like, you know, infinite planets. You know, like, they didn't just make a game, they made an entire universe. Like, Todd Howard is God. God Howard.
We've been calling him that for like a decade, man. Get with the times, bro.
I just don't think that Starfield, you know, No Man's Sky 2 is really going to hash it against Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Tears of the Kingdom is part of an established brand. It's iconic. It's already high quality. It has hundreds of hours of content. Like, what exactly is Starfield going to do that Tears of the Kingdom doesn't do better.
Are you retarded?
So listen to me, man. I love Zelda games, right? I grew up with Zelda. I mean, shit, my very first video game was The Wind Waker. I grew up on the GameCube, right? And I can sit here and defend Zelda until I die. Hearing the same fucking story over and over again gets old eventually, dude. Like, that's not even saying the story in Zelda is the same each time. It's pretty fucking similar, but I've experienced that world and its lore long enough, you know? And it's not healthy to cling to the same thing forever. And you need to have change. So it's nice to have new IPs come out. I don't know why you're so against the idea of that, but that's how it evolves. If we just play the same shit over and over and never evolve, we don't get new experiences. Because Starfield and Zelda are games going for two totally different things, dude. And I like both for what they offer. They don't give me the same experience. They give me two totally different worlds with totally different stories from totally different cultures. There's a reason that games come out and people are excited for it, even if it's a new IP, because it's something that no one has seen yet.
The only thing I can think of is that it's technically a new IP, and that's something that like these people kind of have a big boner for.
No shit.
It's just like, oh, it's a new IP, so let's give it the praise and attention it deserves, right? You know, and I don't know how much I disagree with the notion, because yeah, I do kind of dislike the idea that we see the same kind of games win Game of the Year every year. You know, Breath of the Wild already won once. Do we need like Tears of the Kingdom, you know, the sequel, to like win Game of the Year again to let us all know that the game is good? Like, I would rather like let another game take the spotlight, like hypothetically, like Pikmin 4, right? Like that's something, I don't know.
Of course, when you actually have the correct argument, you still bring it back to fucking Earth, to you anyway. Be like, oh yeah, you know, I mean, it could totally be another game as long as it's Nintendo.
I don't think Starfield is it though. Like that's the thing, is that like Starfield hasn't shown anything off that I would be excited by. You know, I could buy it, like pre-order it on my high-end gaming PC and like, you know, play it immediately. I'm not going to.
High-end gaming PC, yeah, okay, right. Listen, man, I'm telling you now, I know you don't have a high-end gaming PC because you would understand the argument. And even if you do, and you still have this opinion, I don't understand why you have that PC to begin with, because you don't need a high-end PC for video editing, especially with what you're doing. Editing is a strong word for what you're doing, man.
When would I ever have the time to play Bethesda's next big flop? You know, after Fallout 4, after 76, after like everything they've done, like why would anybody be excited for Todd's next big game?
Really want to know why people are excited for Todd's next big game? Because he did invent one of the best RPGs to ever release on console, and it's this objective, man. Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are very highly praised because they did a lot for the industry. They have a lot of replay value with tons of content, tons of way to do things, and tons of ways to create a character that is different each and every time. That is why people get excited for Bethesda games, because they had one mess up and they literally admitted, yeah, we fucked that up. We're gonna change that. They did fuck up again in Fallout 76. People kind of forgave them for that though, because it was a bit of a new thing. Even though people didn't really want that, they did try something new and they did eventually fix it, just kind of like they did Elder Scrolls Online. And like I said in the beginning, I do appreciate them doing that, but they just kind of missed the mark on it. But now we got the first new IP. That's the other thing. This is the first new IP that they have come out with, I believe, since Fallout. I don't even really consider that technically a new IP because they bought that or they acquired it. But at the end of the day, they have some of the best toted video games in the industry because, I mean, dude, look at Skyrim. It still is one of the top sellers. I don't want to buy it no more. We're all kind of sick of it, but numbers don't lie, man.
I was thinking a little bit about Starfield and why it's bothering me. I haven't quite been able to put a nail on it yet, but I have managed to find something to point out, something to talk about, something that I don't think anybody has really talked about yet. Because right now we're still in the middle of the hype phase. We have people who think Starfield can outdo Tears of the Kingdom and Nintendo and become like the game of the year. And of course it's not going to happen. Tears of the Kingdom is going to be the game that is remembered as being one of the best open world games ever made and one of the best games Nintendo has ever put out.
Look at you go, Kyle! Oh, you dirty girl! You love those balls!
Okay, Kyle, that's enough ball sucking.
While Starfield is just going to be another line of failures in Another entry in the long line of failures.
What long line of failures from Bethesda are you talking about, dude? They have way more games that succeeded than they do that failed. Realistically, I would only say in the modern times anyway, we're not gonna really go back to their beginning phases because that's not, I really don't think that counts. But I think the only bad games I'd say Bethesda has would be 4 and 76, honestly. That's kind of it. I don't know. I feel they've made a lot of good games, man. There's a reason Microsoft bought them, because they saw what they had and they wanted it. And then they distributed to people who pay for Game Pass just to play that shit.
Awards it gets, no matter how much it sells, no matter how much people claim to love it, at the end of the day, Starfield is just going to be another Fallout 3, another Skyrim, another Fallout 4, right?
Dude, Tears of the Kingdom looks so similar to Breath of the Wild that people really couldn't tell much of a difference at first. I mean, once they got their hands on it, it was kind of clear. But really, you want to really tell me that Starfield is going to be identical to Fallout 3, a game from '08, man? I really hope not, because that's not good game design if it is.
It's going to be the same thing we've seen over and over again. And obviously, Starfield can't compete with Zelda, right? It's not even close.
You fucking with me, right?
How do you know if it's close or not? A game's not released. And I doubt you've looked at any numbers or pre-orders or anything, dude. I know you haven't.
And, I was thinking a little bit about how Starfield has procedurally generated maps, right? It has like a handful of handcrafted areas for quests and stuff like that. And then you have those big, expansive No Man's Sky planets. And I was thinking how underwhelming that is. Like, how much better it would be if each individual planet was completely handcrafted with unique environments and ecosystems and biological life forms. Like, what a cool game it would be.
Do you really think they're gonna sit there and handcraft 1,000 planets? That's physically impossible. It would never release. There is a handful of handcrafted planets with a bunch more procedurally generated. You're acting like just exploring this world makes no sense because it's procedurally generated. It's still, it's random. If anything, that's more exciting because you never know what you're gonna find. It changes each and every time, dude. What are you on about?
Like, the most interesting thing people are talking about is that, like, oh man, is this set in the future of Fallout and before the Elder Scrolls? Which I don't know exactly how that works, but
you probably don't know how that works because I guarantee you've never given enough of a fuck to find out about any lore in Bethesda games at all.
like, people are like, arguing about like timeline stuff and like, ooh, is this going to be the beginning of a new franchise? It's not, okay? Like, Bethesda's on the way out. Like, they can't really compete. They're a declining studio.
Bethesda's on the way out? They just got bought, dude. If anything, they're in a better position than they ever have been. What are you talking about? This is their first game that they've released under the umbrella of Microsoft, which that alone has people hyped because they know that there's a budget behind it that they didn't have prior, and it's that in itself makes this exciting to see what they can do with it.
And much like Blizzard, much like every other studio out there, like, people don't want to admit it until like Bethesda literally goes bankrupt. You're going to see people like call them the best in the industry.
You realize Bethesda is not going to go bankrupt, right? That's not going to happen because it can't.
You're going to see people like call them the best in the industry at what they do, and that hasn't been true in a long time, since at the very latest Breath of the Wild. But I would argue to a certain extent that's been a trend that we've been slowly going down since Fallout 3 launched.
No, they haven't, like, literally at all. New Vegas is still touted as one of the best RPGs ever made, dude. Skyrim is one of the top-selling games of the decade. It's not far from Minecraft and Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm pretty sure.
We've seen, like, creators just put out better products than what Bethesda can ever manage. But the only reason anybody like cares about Bethesda at all, like, oh man, remember when Skyrim first came out and we were all laughing about the arrow in knees, the arrow in the knee joke? Like, remember like how we played Skyrim and then we started walking in all directions, like marveling at this vast open world, and never discovered the plot because nobody cares about the plot in Skyrim.
Yeah, man, I actually do remember having that game when it first came out because I was living at my grandparents' house. This is right when my grandmother had cancer, I believe, or it was just starting to form. It was 2011, so she died in 2012. It was around that time. But I remember my cousin came after I got home from school, and he brought a sealed copy of Skyrim from GameStop, and I was never more happy than that moment when I put it in that fucking Xbox, and it was definitely an experience, dude. Like, it was just fun. I remember having so much fun with my cousin just exploring Skyrim. Yeah, and you're right, I really didn't care about the plot because I was 11 years old, dude. Now that I'm older and I have retrospect on the game, I do care about the plot, and I want to know what's going on in the world because I'm an adult that gives a fuck about what I'm playing, and I'm not just there distracted by flashing lights and buttons, man. Unlike you. Unlike you.
You know, that is the Skyrim experience. Like, it sells itself based on its like generic setting and like open world environment, but has nothing really of value to offer. Whereas something like Zelda, something like Xenoblade, you know, any Nintendo RPG really just has all the depth you could possibly want. Nintendo stomps Bethesda. They stomp everyone else in the industry, but not enough people are willing to admit it. You know, Starfield is not going to be as good as Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Okay, man, yeah, you enjoy your 720p games. I'll be here playing at 1440p. Listen, because I'm never going to play my Switch. I own a Switch. I'm not buying games for it anymore. I just don't want to. I don't want to play games at 30 FPS 720p on my fucking TV. That sounds horrible, man. Sorry. But I will say one thing. I do honestly believe Zelda deserves to either win Game of the Year or be a runner-up for it. I do still think Nintendo does have good IPs. Where they do lack in power, they do have creativity. I've never denied that. However, the gaming industry is much more vast than Zelda. There is a lot more going on that you don't look at because you're literally part of a subgroup. Because you understand how many people are playing games like Madden and FIFA and having tournaments, making money off of this, making money off of esports for FPS games. There is a lot in the gaming community that you are writing off and not experiencing because you just want to sit here and white knight Nintendo for everything they do, when it's very clear and apparent that the majority is angry with them with most of their practices, including taking down emulation such as Dolphin and refusing to give us access to games at a cheap price legally. I just don't get it, man. But yeah, thank you for giving me another topic, I guess, for the year. And hopefully I stop taking a year to make videos, man, because I know a lot of people subscribed while I was gone. And don't worry, I intend to stay here. I'm just lazy as fuck. So I will see you when I see you. I'll be back eventually. I'm not gonna say when. I'm done giving dates. No point. Yeah, bye.